Well, afternoon, everybody. Glasses today because obviously it has high face validity. In other words, you think I'm more intelligent wearing the glasses. Well, maybe you don't think I'm particularly intelligent in the first place, so it makes no difference. Anyway, joking apart, I just want to talk briefly about everything's briefly. Where does that come from? Anyway, it's as brief, it's as long as it takes. A recent book that I ordered came this morning. I just spent a lot of time looking at it, and I've only managed to read probably about a quarter of it. You'll see what it is. It's I can't remember the title, but you'll see what it is in a moment. And the author is named Sergey Young, and it's all about longevity. How interesting. And this bloke is an investor. Now, no matter what I say, I mean, when I first got it and opened it, I looked at the reviews, and one of the top reviews, a bloke called Ray Kurzweil, who works for Google. Now, this man's a demon. He's an artificial intelligence promoter, and I've no time for him. So I thought, have I just wasted about 14 quid? And then I looked down further and I saw Tony Robbins, and I thought, well, I like Tony Robbins. I value his opinion. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's got something. So okay, well, go for it. And the other thing is, and I keep looking down because there's a lot of detailed information here, and I challenge anybody to remember all this stuff. I like things that challenge my worldview. It's good to read stuff that make you think, because how else will you make progress? Because if all you do, the old classic, the echo chamber, if all you ever do and read about your own stuff or people like you, you get nowhere, and I totally support that point of view. Anyway, I just want to summarise, bearing in mind, you know, this is all about longevity, and we're talking 150 years, 200 years. This is the kind of stuff he's going on about. And if I read I think there are 6 points that he covers, it should give you perhaps an insight. Well, the first thing's about artificial intelligence. Then he talks about genetic engineering. Then about organs and tissue and transplant research, all this kind of thing. Then diagnostic devices. Well, this thing isn't a diagnostic device, nor will it ever become one, but it's a little gizmo that records my pulse and various other things. Then he mentioned health data and how this is being analysed. And finally, medications or pills. So this gives you an idea of the kind of thing that's in the book. But I would wish to recommend the book or to say to you, don't buy it. I think you'll draw your own conclusions. And the other thing is, you see, I actually support the idea of things called med beds. And again, you're going to have to research that. I'm not doing a piece on med beds. And med beds is something that's being promoted by the truth community. So I'd be somewhat hypocritical if I dismissed Young's book and all that was in it and then say, med beds are a good idea. So stay with that. And I love the couple of, there's a number of things in it that are well worth what I paid for it. And a couple of definitions of aging. One is, I think there's a bloke called Alex Comfort who wrote the book, The Joy of Sex. And his definition of aging is a decrease in viability and increase in vulnerability. And the other one, I don't know who wrote this, but the accumulation of molecular damage. They're two definitions of aging. Well, let's jump around a bit. Those of you who are familiar with my work know I like to jump around a bit. So genetic determinism. You see, people think, for example, identical twins, they are almost genetically identical, would have similar sort of life outcomes. Well, even I didn't know this. I say even I, because I've done a fair amount of research on this, that the research so far, with a massive sample size, is that they've discovered that identical twins, that the statistics suggest that they die more than 10 years apart. I find that fascinating. And then we have the idea of biological versus chronological age. Well, if you look at my birth certificate, you'll see I'm 69. I feel about 35. The age I look, I'll leave for you to decide. And you're as old as you feel. I actually had a conversation with people over at the cafe this morning who were in their 80s. They certainly didn't look it. And neither of them would support or agree with what I'm doing. They didn't object to it, but it was all a bit unfamiliar to them. But what we did agree on is that you're as old as you feel. Your beliefs make a huge difference. Now, before I go on to that, 34 years ago, when I went to a conference on NLP at Regent's Park in London, I remember coming across this wonderful man called Emil Rattleband. I thought he was brilliant. He was an entrepreneur, a coach. He was up to all kinds of things. And he did a presentation where he talked about influencing and gaining rapport with women randomly in society to prove a point. Now, when he was doing this, his wife was with him, so this was no sort of sexist adventure. It was very, very interesting. And I like Rattleband. He was working for Philips at the time to help them downsize, bloody words, get rid of about 30,000 people worldwide, but that didn't make any difference. I thought the man was a very interesting man. Anyway, I'm reading this book, and all of a sudden I come across the name Emil Rattleband. I thought, oh, maybe I know this bloke. And of course, it was the same bloke, and he's my age, he's 69. And apparently, 3 years ago, he petitioned a court in Holland, which is where he's from, that he should be allowed to, reduce his legal age by 20 years. Fascinating, eh? Well, he wasn't allowed to. And of course, we live in an age where you can declare your gender. I'll not comment on that. I'll leave that out. I mean, to declare, oh dear me, no. But yeah, you can't reduce your legal age, even though you may feel it. And he's certainly, I don't know what he looks like today, but I would be very surprised if he looks far younger than 69. Anyway, Jung's book, let's go back to that for a minute, which is where I read the Rattleband story. There are 250 pages and 2 of them are on beliefs. In other words, my specialism, the psychology, psychotherapy. However, in 2018, same year as Rattleband went to the court, a survey of 17,000 people who they declared that they felt, on average obviously, 13 years older than their chronological age. So whatever their age on the birth certificate, had 13. So in my case, I'd feel, oh, can I do the maths? I'd feel 81. And what they found was they increased their risk of death by 25% simply by having that belief. Another interesting revelation, eh? Well, I discovered what I'm about to disclose, and you'll see the picture of him on the video. Lee Chung-Yuen. He died at the age of either 197 or 256, and there's a lot to support this, that actually it's fact. But you see, when it comes to facts, we've got a problem, haven't we? So David Wilcock, who was a wonderful man who I believe just about everything he says, but not all things. I mean, you know, we take everything with a pinch of salt. You don't believe 100% what everybody says because we're all flawed. He gets a bad press. And I know when the was it Rockefellers or Rothschilds? One of the two. I think it was the Rockefellers, that's right, who took over the medical profession over 120 years ago. Maybe longer, because there was more money to be made from medicines derived from oil, Rockefeller. And they invented this term quacks. So someone who was previously a naturopath and very successful was classed as a quack because they didn't prescribe addictive drugs. So what I'm saying is, the people in power determine the agenda. So if Wilcock goes against the agenda, and anybody goes against the agenda, they're rubbish or described as a quack. And I'm not sufficiently famous, nor do I wish to be described as a quack, although anybody from that persuasion seeing this would obviously immediately label me as such. There we go. There was something else I was going to say. So in other words, yes, watch David Wilcock. Read this book, it's very interesting. There'll be a second video on this. And I just want to close with the best possible thing you can do to decrease your longevity. Or some of you may believe it's the best possible thing you can do to increase your longevity. And it's cheaper than the book. So with that in mind, have a great day. Speak to you very soon. Namaste. Love to you all. Goodbye.